Hey, this is Andy Jenkins, and I am back with another episode of the OilyApp podcast. And in this one, we are building on the previous lesson, the previous talk, and we are still discussing the book Boost and really talking about that whole concept that we just unveiled in the last 2 weeks about working from anywhere, being well, and living the life of your dreams. Boost is the book that we wrote. I did with Ernie Yarbrough, the founder of OilyApp. We wrote that about escaping the trade of time for money. Stop trading time for money. Get off that treadmill and choose to do something different. So, in episode number 1 of this series, we really talked about that idea of time for money. And are these things at odds? Do they have an inversely proportional relationship? So does one go up and that necessarily make the other go down? Or does one go down and the other one necessarily goes up? A lot of people think that if you have more time, you don't have money. Or if you go chase more money, you're going to have less time. And we're going to show you that those two things, time and money, aren't at odds. You just need a better model. In the previous episode, I actually talked to you about this concept of 4 different mind shifts that you need to make in order to be successful. And those 4 mind shifts had everything to do with looking at residual income, taking an honest look at network marketing. One of those was being willing to catch this. This caught some people off guard, not selling things. And then, of course, one of them had to do with the emerging global economic trends. In this episode, I want to talk about 3 secrets, and I'm calling them secrets because it seems like these are so common sense once you hear them and once you see them, but they don't seem to be taught anywhere. But like you don't ever really find these in a business school. You don't ever really find these in an MBA program. Yet these seem to be things that most of the people who are financially successful actually do. So let me tell you what the secrets are so that you know what you're listening for, because we're going to break this down. This is the audio that you're about to hear from a video class that Ernie and I taught. By the way, that audio is available at oilyapp.com/boost, and you can actually get the book and everything there. All the links for that are in the show notes. So here's the secrets. Secret number 1 is this: you must own and invest, not be an employee or be self-employed in order to get ahead. Okay, so you've got to be an owner, you've got to be an investor. Now we're going to lean onto Robert Kiyosaki's 4 quadrants. He's the author of Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and he's going to show you how to do it, or we're going to show you how he says that you do it. Secret number 2 is this: you can earn while you learn, and you can learn while you earn. Now, the typical model is to go to college for 4 years, ratchet up $40K in debt, and some people even say that's too low of a number. The number's more like $40K a year. Okay, so we're saying 4 years, $40K in debt, graduate with a chance to look for a job. Not even a guaranteed hire, just the opportunity to look for a job that you'll work for 40 years. That's a valid way to do it, but there may be a better way. Now, nothing against college at all. In fact, many times I'm like, I'd love to go back. But going to college isn't the only way to succeed. If you've been, no harm, no foul. Man, you learned a lot of great stuff. Most of the stuff that I learned in college was discipline, it was courage, it was learning how to do things that I didn't know how to do as well leading up to that point. So in college is really when I learned how to read. It's when I really learned how to write. It's when I learned how to speak in public. So, I took a ton of things from college, but an earning income was not one of them. And by the way, it's not for most people, which is why most people work in a field that has nothing to do with the field of their college degree. Okay, so that's secret number 2. You don't have to go learn first. You can earn while you learn. We're going to show you how to do it. Secret number 3 is this: you can do all of this without selling a bunch of stuff. Now, I refer to that as one of the 4 mind shifts, but it is a secret that you've got to know, and it bears repeating. One of the biggest and baddest stereotypes that people have about network marketing is that in order to succeed, you got to sell a whole bunch of things that people don't want, that people don't need, that people don't know how to use, that people won't ever use. You think about if that were true, I mean, goodness, you would have to push people to get the sale because they don't want what you have, or you'll have a bunch of something that people don't typically want, So you're going to really have to beg them for it, or they don't know how to use it. So you'll have to explain it. And if it's not something that they don't ever really use, or something that's kind of a one-off purchase, it's probably going to have a high price point. It's probably going to be something that's going to require you to keep hustling and finding new customers. Here's the deal. In this episode, we're going to take those blinders off, give you the information that you need to make an informed decision, and show you that there is a, not perfect, but a better way. Here's the audio from lesson number 3 of the Boost video series with myself and my good friend, Ernie Yarbrough. We kind of listed these as secrets because I think that the current way things economically go, the way things are currently educationally driven, is these tend to be things that are kind of counterintuitive and kind of counter to what's taught, counter mainstream. So that's why we call them secrets. Now, once you see them, they're completely obvious, but they might not be so obvious at first. And here's why I want to show you, because our argument is the best way, not the only way, but the best way to stop trading time for money and get away from that villain that we talked about in part number 1 is through network marketing. Again, there are other ways to do it. If you had a lot of money that you could invest right now and then live off the residual of that, that'd be great. That'd be one way to do it. If you could go make a film, a blockbuster film, that'd be one way to do it. Yeah, if you could write a bestseller like Stephen King, that'd be one way to do it. So we're not saying there's not other ways to stop trading time for money. We're just saying the best way we feel is network marketing. Number 2, the best, not the only way, but we feel the best way to do network marketing. There are a lot of great network marketing companies out there. Yes. The best way, we think, is with Young Living Essential Oils. And once you put those two together, if you're trying to break that time for money tango, if you're trying to live off of a residual income, if you're willing to look at network marketing, you're willing to not sell a bunch of stuff, and you're willing to get on board with those global economic trends, then you'll look at that and go, oh, I think I should look at the business. Let me tell you about the first secret here. The first secret is this, is that in order to get ahead financially, you must own and you must invest. That's something that they don't tell you when you're growing up. But again, in order to break ahead, you must be an owner. You must be an investor. This all comes from Robert Kiyosaki. He is the Rich Dad, Poor Dad author. He talks about the 4 quadrants. Quadrants are on the top left, employee. On the bottom left, self-employed. That's a step up. On the top right, business owner. That's where you want to get to. Top right is business owner. Bottom right is investor. And what he says, again, is most people live on that left side. In order to truly be financially free, you got to get to the right side. And they're not going to tell you that when you go to college. Nothing against college. Let's talk through each of those really quickly. If you're an employee, that means you work for someone else. You trade time for money to them. You give them time. They give you money. You're at the bottom of the pyramid. If you're self-employed, this one's tricky. You're actually still an employee. A lot of times you work for yourself, so you're your own boss. But in those instances, a lot of times you're not really free. That job owns you. So if you don't show up, you don't get paid. You are the business. Let me give you a great example of this. A couple of years ago, I met a guy who's a pastor, and I asked him what he did, and he listed the list of all the stuff that he had a lot going on. Very gracious, honorable guy. Nothing negative about him in the world. And he said, well, and I do all that. And after he talked about everything he did, I was like, I don't know how you keep up with all that. And he said, and I also own my own business. I've wanted to own my own business for years. And I was like, well, what business do you have? And he said, he told me the name of it. It was a fish and chips place. I was like, oh, cool. Where's it at? It was at a gas station. He had rented out this little restaurant space that was attached to a gas station. And I said, well, when do you open? Well, he and his wife open it when they're not doing all the other things. And so very quickly, what I learned was if he doesn't show up, he doesn't get paid. He's still swapping time for money, okay? He doesn't own a business. The business owns him. He's self-employed. A true business, like we see on the right hand there, it works and you get paid even when you're not there. In order for that to be a functioning business, you would have to have income coming in enough to pay other people and pay himself to where he could sell that whole asset off to someone else. Does that make sense, Ernie?
Yeah, no, totally. It's just like, you see, when my dad was self-employed growing up, I mean, we traveled the road as a road companies, for lighting back in the early to mid 90s when the electronic ballasts first came out. And so we did over 40 hospitals just in Texas. We traveled all over the US. But one thing that I noticed was about the self-employed was that, see, we would work night shift because you go into office buildings or hospitals, right? You got to go in there when people are gone or at a minimal to get in there and do all the light. Well, then I would work the night shift as a teenager with my dad in the summers. We'd go back to the hotel and he had a whole crew of guys. And we go to sleep. And then I learned very quickly I did not want to stay in the same hotel room with my dad because during the day, guess what happened to his phone calls, text, or whatever. He's like, because guess what? He was the single point of failure. And so all the hospital managers or the business office building, they were all having to, hey, we need to set this up. Hey, let's swap around and do these rooms tonight and not these because we got this going on. Right. So he had to, it was just like, it was really a blessing in that regard to be just the employee because I could work my 12-hour shift and go to sleep and forget about it. But it really owned him until he now is at the point where he works as a point man for a hedge fund, right? Where he goes and he helps them invest money, right, in that investor area in other businesses. So he's moved to that whole quadrant to the investor circle now.
Yeah, if you can't step away from it and still get paid when you take off, then it's not a business. It's self-employed. It doesn't mean it's bad. Like an employee is not bad. Self-employed is not.
No. I intend to have my children work that employee type jobs and learn hard work. There's all those parts of the quadrant have tremendous value. And in fact, I would argue that the only way you can truly be the best self-employer or business owner and even investors is to have experienced all those quadrants, right? Growing up and growing into adulthood and maturity, because then you have really an understanding both, in terms of compassion, but intellectually how those things operate and what's going to make those things hum and work well.
Well, here's a great example. Tana says this in the comments here. Great example going on right now. I'm self-employed. I work by myself as an electrologist, but look where I am right now. I'm not even allowed to have my clients come to me because of, Corona while we're teaching this course. No clients, no income. No clients, no income.
Yep.
The final stage you've got to get to, Kiyosaki says, is investor. And that's when you use your money to invest in other people's businesses. You don't even have to manage the business to get paid. Right. And so that's a whole other level.
And in reality, just to make a quick side point there, again, none of this is in the venue of like belittling being an employee or self-employed or whatever. But it's, and in fact, again, I would make the argument coming through all those quadrants is tremendously valuable. But like I tell people, like, for example, I could cut my own grass, right? And I grew up doing that. I cut grass for money, growing up teenager, right? Whatever it took to get some extra cash in my pocket, but now I pay somebody else to cut my grass because I can afford it and it gives them a job, or I have my sons do it because it trains them, in hard work and diligence and those things. So, the value of being an investor, right, is not, again, that I can just be on easy street and have whatever, getting finally to this point. But it's that now I can view it from the angle of now I am investing not just in my financial security, but in bringing up the next coming generation of people who also get the privilege of working through this quadrant to become investors themselves.
Well, and the reality is, businesses don't work unless they have employees. So they're all necessary parts of this entire operation here. Here's what the author of Rich Dad, Poor Dad says. Again, to become financially free, you must move through the quadrants and get to the business owner and investor stages as quickly as possible. What we're saying is the best way to achieve that is through network marketing, because at that point, you do own a business. At this point now, when you have people that are behind you, that you're helping grow their business to escape that time for money tango, which is where the biggest bonuses in your business come from. At that point, you're really investing in their business, which pays you dividends when they succeed. And so network marketing actually helps you accomplish both of those on the far right-hand side. Let's give everybody secret number 2. There's 3 secrets. Secret number 2 is that you can earn, one, learn, and you can learn while you earn. That's a tongue twister right there. Okay. You can earn while you learn, and you can do it the other way. You can learn while you earn. Just maybe comments there. I went to college for 5 years to graduate, and then I did graduate school in 2 years. A lot of you went to graduate college and graduate school. College, typically they say 4 years to graduate, and you'll pay $40,000 in tuition along the way. I think that's a little bit of a low number now. It's gotten to be significantly higher. At the end of that 4 years, you'll have the right to look for a job that might pay you $40,000 a year. You'll work for 40 years, and then you might retire. You might have to go back and work some more. That's the current methodology, is that you've got to learn first, have that money investment, have that time investment, and then you have the right to be able to get on board and start earning a paycheck. Here's the issues. A lot of times when you tell people that you don't have to do it that way, again, no disrespect to college. Right now, I've got a kid in college. We'll send the next kid most likely to college. Some of my kids probably won't go. I went. I've thought about it.
I got a 4-year degree, engineering. Yeah.
I mean, I'd love to go back. But when you tell people they can do this without going to college, a lot of them have these internal caution lights kind of come. They say, well, I don't know enough, or I'm too young, or I'm too old. I don't have the time or money. That's back to that tango we're trying to get away from. I don't know enough people. Somebody even said in the comments earlier, I'm not on social media, so I don't have enough contacts. I'm not outgoing. I'm not a public speaker. These are all internal factors. And, the reality is that I don't know enough. That's why they have the whole learn while you earn and earn while you learn model, which network marketing provides you, because you can jump in without having any kind of experience whatsoever and then get started. The I'm too young, I think in Young Living, Essential Oils, they've had people hit the highest ranks, hit diamond when they're 21, 22 years old.
Yeah.
Is that, I mean, I'm too old. I've got a picture of myself with Dr. David Stewart. I think he's a retired pastor. He's not the only one that was retired when they hit the diamond rank. Right. So I mean, this is like after the whole career's done, it's all of a sudden, I don't have time or money. Agreed. That's what we're trying to get away from, is so that you do have time and money. But at some point, you got to break off that cycle. I don't know enough people. I think everybody in the world pretty much only knows about 200 people that you really know.
Right.
I'm not outgoing. I'm not a public speaker. What we found with network marketing is that these things can actually work against you here.
That's right. I'll tell you real quickly. Like Myra learned that real quick when my wife, when she was starting to do classes or share. She's like, she tried to get all like PowerPointy and super technical. It was a disaster. And when she's like, forget that, I'm just getting some notes and sharing from my heart. It was a much better experience of people, like, because you connected with people without all that extra fancy stuff.
Yeah, well, and then people can't necessarily replicate that either, and you want them to be able to see too. So a lot of people say, well, it's too late. Well, I mean, there's a Chinese proverb that says the best time to plant a tree was 50 years ago. So what do you do if you didn't plant it 50 years ago? If you didn't start the business 5 years ago, if you didn't start the business last year, you say the best time was then, but the next best time is like now.
That's right.
So you can learn while you earn while you learn with the roadmap. Right now, what Young Living has going on is a thing called Silver Bound and Bridge to Gold. Now, we didn't put a lot of information in that because there are incredible videos about that online. We'll link to those later on when we repost the playback of this. And what I'll say is, they've had other roadmaps before. They had the Rising Star bonus. That's no longer in operation. Some of you that are familiar with that, they used to have an Elite Express roadmap. That Elite Express changed a few times. Now they have the Silver Bound and the Bridge to Gold. My guess is they'll run that for a while, and at some point they'll change it. They generally change it when they come up with a better methodology and kind of have this aha, like, oh, hey, this will help people. So we didn't put information about that right here, but there are roadmaps to help you kind of map it out and timeline it and help you see exactly what you need to do with your time. And when you get the vehicle, and that's what we call this boost, because you just need a vehicle to do something like a jetpack to move from where you are to where you want to be. You get the training where you can learn while you earn. And then the money starts coming in with the growing residual income. Starts smaller at first, like you saw my chart there, and then it eventually starts escalating right there. As you put in the time and the effort, ultimately you're able to jump off that time for money tango. Final secret is this. You can do it all without selling things that people don't want, they can't afford, they don't need, they don't know how to use, and they only buy one time. Well, let me tell you why all that's important. Just kind of look at the sentences there, and I'll follow along with it, and then I'm going to let Ernie take it over. You can do it without selling things people don't want. If you're trying to sell things that people don't want, when they see you coming, they're going to run away. If you are trying to do this and sell things that people can't afford, you're selling expensive vacuum cleaners, then that automatically limits your clientele, and it means that what you're doing is probably not recession proof. If you're trying to sell things people don't need, it means they're not going to want to see you coming either. Like they might give you a sell. The people that know you really well might buy it to help you out and encourage you on. But if people don't need it, they don't need it. And it's going to drastically limit the clientele of people who could actually get on board. The next one, if people don't know how to use it, it's probably not something they use every day. And so it's kind of irrelevant to everyday life. If they only buy it one time, that's going to go against that thing that we talked about with residual income. If they only buy it once, it's one and done. So I'm going to buy like one, wallet, and this is going to last me for 4 or 5 years. I have one pocket knife. So if they only buy it one time, like that's done. So here's where Young Living really gets hitting is take this over, Ernie.
Yeah, I mean, I think everything we can truly see right now in the context of obviously the virus, but even before that, the bigger picture, like when the whole thing with the Healthcare Act and the Obamacare came, we had lots of my relatives who were self-employed, and their insurance expenses went up 4 and 5 times, and their coverage got really hammered. And so they realized, you know what, one thing that I really can't do without, honestly, is taking more responsibility to care for myself. Personal care. People can or cannot do. If you can't afford a vacuum cleaner, you might go buy a broom, a broom and dustpan, and get by with it, right? But people have begun to realize, and there's been this whole shift in focus of personal care, like healthy, taking care of your body, what you put into your body, because people realize I only get one body, and the more healthy that body and well that body is, that becomes my vehicle for doing everything else. And so the tremendous point of leverage and importance that Young Living has as a company of integrity and products that from farm to table are pure seed to seal is that people have realized that global personal care is tremendously important, and you can never get away from having to deal with the fact that this touches you at the most important and precious daily points of your life. So personal care, what you put on your body, what you put in your body, people have just had this heightened awareness that it's self-care and personal care that is really, it's at the most fundamental nature of who we are as human beings.
Well, it's a $650 billion industry. 25 billion of it is specifically green, organic.
Right.
A lot of times people ask questions. Well, when you talk about doing Young Living as a business, isn't the market saturated? Really, we want to get into personal care because that's really what essential oils, vitamins, supplements, chemical-free household cleaning products. That's really what all of this is personal care. So people say, well, really, what if the economy turns down? And I will say this about all of that. The market's not saturated. Most of your neighbors probably have no idea. They've probably never heard of Young Living essential oils.
No.
So I guarantee you, don't do it. But if you went and just walked down your street, knocked on every single door right now and took a poll, hey, do you know about this company? Do you even have anything by this company in your house? My guess would be out of everybody on the street, maybe one.
Yeah.
Right. It's just not saturated. It's not. And people are always going to take care of themselves. There's more people being born. There's always going to be more people being born. And even in times of economic downturns, when people stop buying cars, they stop purchasing new homes, they stop taking vacations, they still take care of themselves. Right now, we're in the middle of the COVID-19 pandemic. Everybody's quarantined. And you look at what people are buying, they're buying toilet paper, they're buying hand sanitizer, they're buying household cleaners. I mean, that's it. You can go get anything else you want right now. That's what's going is personal care stuff.
That's right.
And even on a normal day, there are items that most people use every day. So
and I was going to say, like for us, like we you know, with OilyApp, we say, hey, Jim Bob Hackerton teaches these classes. And, you know, as famous as he is, how many things we go to Young Living type events where they never heard of Jim Bob, right? So there's like again, to your point, people do, it's true that it's not saturated. But second of all, everybody that you know uses, and you're about to say this slide here, like everything that people use in terms of personal care is every single day. And they're realizing how important it is that what I put on or in my body needs to be healthy for me.
Well, and and every day people are they're showering, they're shaving, they use lotion, something like that. They, wash their dishes. I mean, right now people aren't eating out. They're washing all the dishes, using soap, toothpaste, floss, mouthwash, hopefully deodorant. I know some of the kids in my house are taking a shower about once every 4 or 5 days, right? Or, but skincare, beauty, people still putting on makeup and going online and doing selfies. Those are items that most people use every day, items that many people use every day. So this is a little bit narrower of a list, but you just start looking at that list, pet care, laundry. I'm going from the bottom up. Everybody's doing the laundry, scents, cleaners. Everybody wants the place to smell good. They want it to be clean. They're using insect repellent. People are taking more walks now than ever before. They're getting out, riding bikes, going to the park, the weather's shifting. So people have some free time right now. Weight loss, a lot of people thinking about that. I saw a thing the other day that said, due to the quarantine and everybody staying in and overeating, this year at the beach is all going to be about personality. I thought, well, that's for some people, but a lot of people are still thinking about fitness and recovery and, energy.
Those pretty cool things are going, like people like they're doing half marathons, like running around their house, 800 times or whatever, Yeah,
I mean, people, again, but these are things that we're saying you don't have to sell things people don't want, they don't need, they can't afford, they don't know how to use, because Young Living's wheelhouse is the exact opposite. It is personal care things that people use every single day already. People already know how to clean their house. They know how to brush their teeth. They know how to take a shower. They know how to put on makeup. They know how to take vitamins and supplements. They know how to do all of these things. And so this is your wheelhouse. These are things that are recession proof that people are always going to get into. That's why,
because they're tied to the very nature of what it means to be, in many respects, a human.
Right.
Like taking care of yourself, hygiene, health. I mean, your skin is your biggest organ. What you put on your body, in your body, and the fact that you only get one. I mean, people like people can do or not do without. People want to talk about it, and I understand the debate of essential versus non-essential, but nobody would question the fact that your body is essential, and the care of your body and the care of your family is essential.
Well, that's true in economically great times. It's true in economically bad times.
That's right.
Probably even more true in economically down times, that people are more conscious of stuff like that. That does become the one thing they can control. So, this is money. People are not having to find new money in order to do this, because when you open it up and let people look at the reality of it, people are already buying this stuff anyway. So when you start looking at Young Living as a business, you're inviting them to buy better products, superior products that are organic, that are clean, that are healthy. And you're getting them to do that at what would be really, it's oftentimes even cheaper than what they would buy in the store. So we call these, I've just put it in the middle of the screen there, replacement products. Sometimes we call them swap buys. We talk about ditch and switch. That's not on the screen. We call them transfer buys, because they're taking budgeted dollars that were going to one store, and now all of a sudden they're going to another store. It's just like money was going to Blockbuster. Now it's going to Netflix. Money was going to Toys R Us. Now it's going to other places people buy things, usually online with Amazon, for toys. Money was going to Walmart for personal care. Now it's going to Young Living. Money was going to chemically laden air fresheners, chemically toxic house cleaners. Now it's going to the entire thieves line. And when people can do that and get it delivered straight to their house, it's better for their business. It's better for their health. That's better for you.
And it puts people in a place of control and like where they need to be for their family, while at the same time giving them the benefit of the direct shipping. And the beauty of that from the network marketing side is that now I'm not a salesperson who's got $5,000 of stock that I have to buy. No. It's like Amazon. You want it, you go get it. It comes to you. It's fantastic.
You send it to the shopping cart.
Yep.
Well, and here's another side. It's recession proof, and the market will never be saturated because more people are being born. The products are consumable. So it's not like books or hairbrushes where people buy something one time, they got it for months. They may eventually replace it, but this is stuff. They use the household cleaner, it's gone. They use the soap, it's gone. You don't get to reuse the soap. You don't get to reuse the essential oils. You eat the vitamins, they go in your mouth. You don't get to reuse them. The products are inexpensive. So, when I was in seminary, I was working for a Kirby vacuum cleaner company. Those vacuum cleaners were $2,000. And this was 20 years ago. Well, very few people could afford that stuff. Now you start looking at, I was buying this shampoo, now I'm going to buy that shampoo. So it becomes a very easy ditch and switch. So that's one of the things where I don't understand when people get off of essential rewards because they can't afford it anymore. That's usually the telltale sign that we haven't shown them how they can afford it and how it's better from them. The products aren't luxury items, so it's not like costume jewelry, it's not like purses, it's not like press-on nails. Nothing against all those things. It's just toothpaste is not a luxury item. Cleaning your house is not a luxury item. And so it becomes something that's very easy for people to get, again, because these are things, bottom point there, people already use every single day. They already purchase. Young Living has 500 of these things. And I think the end of it, right there, it's better stuff. It's all natural. The price is often cheaper, super cheap shipping. You can get free products every month with the monthly promos when you get on Essential Rewards. Then you get points back with that towards stuff that you can choose for free.